All right, Game Corner Podcast, episode 42. This is Casey's second episode. This is my 42nd, of course. So, got some things to talk about today. Shitty expo yesterday. 7 hours of shit for the most part. So, Casey, when you think of a showcase or an expo, you think of they're going to show new games and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, honestly, I mean that's what E3 is mostly about. Talking about new games and maybe talk about the new consoles coming out.
So yesterday at New Game Plus. Actually, I want to show you this to get your reaction of it. This is actually one of the couple things that was announced. That was actually announced. But yesterday, the New Games Plus Expo was a 7 hour event. It started at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, ended at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and honestly, they could have cut out about half of what was actually on the expo, and it would have made it a lot better. If you go on Twitter and you search New Game Plus Expo,
Mm,
they are getting torn apart. They were getting bashed all day long yesterday. The stream quality was not good. The shit they showcased was awful. Um, so they started it off pretty good, I thought, showing off and announcing Bloodstained Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2, which
awesome.
which is a sequel to Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 1 and Ritual of the Night, which is
Mm,
more or less classic Castlevania. Um, I thought they did pretty good with that. Inti Creates showed off some of the new game. They played the first level, showed you what the game's going to be about. The only thing I didn't like about that presentation is they had one of the developers, and of course he was Japanese. So you had an English guy and a Japanese
mm.
guy talking together, and they didn't have subtitles on the screen for what the Japanese developer was saying. So you only understood half the conversation.
I remember one time. God, it could have been when the Switch was being announced, or like yeah, I think this is when they were going to announce the price and the date. And the Japanese, there was one game they were announcing, and like the guy was, there's a Japanese person presenting the game, and it's not, you had no gameplay, no footage, whatever the game was. I think it ended up being No More Heroes 3,
That actually
but
got announced recently, actually, or more footage
but
of it was shown.
but they had no footage at all. The Japanese guys going over a ton of stuff, but our translator was like, it just seems like he was just generic, kind of like making shit up. It was kind of like, oh yeah, we're working on this new game, and it was just blah. It was the worst press. That was the worst presentation I ever watched. That one section that was on the Switch.
So next, they talked about Blaster Master Zero 1 and 2, which I believe Blaster Master Zero 1 is already out. I think actually both of them should be out by now. Um,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they both are out now.
they announced a new DLC for Blaster Master Zero 2, which is going to be available next Monday, June 29th. And then they also revealed this. This is one of the other announcements, Casey. Click on that and take a look at it. I'll put this on the screen in post edit for everybody else.
Okay.
So you have this image now. I have the website pulled up, and I'm going to
Give
uh,
me a sec.
I'm going to run through it, and I'm going to tell you everything that's in there.
Oh my god, look at this thing.
Limited run games. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yeah.
They do physical releases of certain games for limited time only. For $130, Casey, this is everything you get. Uh,
Uh, I see those cartridges. Are those playable or are those just like non-working cartridges?
They're probably just replicas, to be honest, because this is a Switch game. So,
Uh
but I'm gonna go through everything on the list for $130. The Blaster Master Zero 1 and 2 Collector's Edition includes limited run games number 73, of course. Blaster Master Zero Classic Edition includes several premium guest character DLC packs on cartridge. Shovel Knight, Shantae, Ikaro, and Gunvolt. So that's
hmm.
interesting. Also included is limited run games number 74, Blaster Master Zero 2 Classic Edition. It includes several premium guest characters DLC pack on cartridge. Capcom Copan Empress. Premium rigid box safely stores all content. You get a full color interior art and booklet. Retro cartridge sleeves to fit your game cases. You get two 18 by 24-inch reversible posters. Those would be pretty cool to put on the wall. You get original game soundtracks on physical CDs for both Blaster Master Zero 1 and 2.
Mm.
You get commemorative Blaster Master Zero NES cartridge. Yep, non functioning. That's what I thought. For both Blaster Master Zero 1 and 2. You get a 3-inch Sophia 3 metal tank figure.
Mm.
You get a 3-inch Gaia Sophia metal tank figure. Individually numbered certificate of authenticity. And another 8x10 art print poster. For $130, that is your complete package.
Mm, I wouldn't say that it was that bad. I wish they could have had those games on those NES cartridges. That'd be badass.
Yeah, I mean that would have been pretty cool, but in order for them to do that, they might have had to cost more. This is
Uh,
what this is. So everything, the image I showed you before is everything else.
mm,
This is the what the box looks like that everything's going to come in. So
okay.
you can take a look at that. And of course, everything I'm showing Casey, I'll put on screen so everyone else can see it.
Is that having everything inside of that?
Yes, everything will say inside that box. It's a
That's a
hundred.
lot of.
It's $130.
That's a.
You can pre-order it now if you wish. I'm actually thinking about it, but I got so many games I pre-ordered already. I don't think I'd be able
Hmm.
to pay it off.
Uh, the thing is, limited run is good company and stuff, but I hate where you had to wait for months and months and months. It's almost like Wish, where you order it and you had to wait 3 4 months to get it.
Well, there's currently no release date for this. It just says Q3 2020, so that's any time between July and September.
Yeah,
So if you pre-order it now, you might get it next month. You might get it in August. You might get it in September. So I'll have the link in the description for anyone who may be interested in pre-ordering this. I think it's pretty cool, but
I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty cool too. I mean, it's worth the bundle, but I mean, it's a good game. I enjoyed the first one. I need to try the second one, but the only good thing I would also say about limited runs, a lot of times their physical games also go to Best Buy as well.
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like Toe Jam and Earl. It was supposed to be just a limited run game, but it's comes out. It's at Best Buy, so you might have a shot to get some of this stuff at Best Buy.
So maybe Best Buy has like some kind of deal with them where they'll stock some of their games once in a while, maybe like some kind of contractual obligation.
Yes.
So those are pretty much the only announcements, literally out of the entire 7-hour showcase. Were those two announcements: the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 and the Blaster Master Zero collection announced. Next, we had Sega and Atlas take the stage. And first of all, I wouldn't actually I shouldn't say take the stage because all of the broadcasts, everybody took their turns from their homes. Um, Sega was only used as bait to get viewers into this thing. Sega had no presence whatsoever, so we didn't get any announcements from Sega. No Sonic, no Sonic the Hedgehog, no nothing. You know, no.
Boo.
Yeah, it sucked. They were only used as bait to lure in viewers because they own Atlas Games, and Atlas Games was very disappointing. They clearly had something they could have shown us because they have a game coming out very soon. But
Mm.
but instead of showing us any details or a new trailer or a new gameplay of this upcoming game, they decided to, I guess, show pre-recorded footage of a 30-minute walkthrough of a 10-year-old game with no
What?
commentary.
What?
I don't know if you've ever played a game called Catherine or have even heard of it. Um,
No.
this game originally came out like 2011, so it's almost 10 years old.
Mm.
And they re-released the remastered version on PS4 last year, and they're releasing it again this year on the Switch. So because they're releasing it on the Switch, they decided they were going to take pre-recorded walkthrough footage. They might have even stolen it from somebody on YouTube, for all I know. Um, put it up on this expo, and let it run for a full 30 minutes from start of the game until whenever 30 minutes in is, with no commentary, no nothing. It was literally like I could have just been watching somebody on YouTube do the same thing.
That's disappointing.
Very.
Especially because I was looking forward for Sega and Atlas.
Yeah, I was too, because I was kind of hoping Sega would actually have some presence there, but when I saw what they did, I'm like, okay, they were clearly name dropped as bait to lure people, and only because they own Atlas Games. So after the 30 minutes, a new studio called PM Studios took their right, their time for their half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I never even heard of them, so I didn't even give a fuck about what they were showing off. Plus, um, I had to go out somewhere, so I completely missed their segment. But because I've never even heard of them in the first place, I didn't even bother looking it up. So that just shows how
well,
much I gave a shit about them.
you know what? If it was something important, I guarantee you we would heard something about it. You know.
I never even heard of the studio. Like, who the fuck is PM Studio?
Well, at least there's new studios. You
Right?
always hear about a bunch of old ones dying because they make that one big game and then it flops and it kills the whole company.
Oh yeah, and I forgot about Gung Ho Games. They took their turn before Atlas did, and what they showed was so forgettable. That's why I actually forgot they had a presence. They showed off a game. I don't even remember the name of it, but it looked the art style of the game looked like it was done by a 10-year-old, and it had indie game written all over it. Which again, indie games, we said last week because I was kind of bashing them a little bit. Indie games are not bad. You know, there's a good one every now and then. Some people like more indie games than other people, and that's totally fine. I'm certainly not one of those people. But yeah, it was just a shame. Atlas and then PM Studios, very forgettable.
Well, the thing is with these indie companies, these indie games, I mean, it's like every shovel knight you get like a few turds that you never heard of. So it's like, but there's some great games of indie games. I mean, wasn't it Untitled Goose Game? Wasn't that an indie game?
Yes, it was.
And that was praised pretty good, and I enjoyed it. I played it on the Switch.
I've watched somebody play it, and I just didn't get it.
I enjoyed it. It was kind of fun. Just you play as a menacing goose, messing stuff up.
I don't know what happened to your camera there. It cut to the regular Skype screen, so I just had to fix it. But anyways, 2 p.m. Idea Factory International took their turn, and they have a game upcoming in August called Death End Request 2, which is a sequel to the first game. It's an anime JRPG, so I'm sure that's not the kind of game you play. But they showed this game and they spoiled 1 hour of it.
Well, they just showed the complete first hour of the game.
I don't know where they started in the game story, but they from wherever they decided to start, they played 1 hour of that game. But what's cool is they did a giveaway, which I believe they were the only ones to do this. They did a giveaway where they gave away a few copies, I believe, of a collector's edition,
Hmm.
or or you get a PS4 with the game. So that was pretty cool that they did a giveaway. There was like 3 or 4 people that won throughout their 1 hour presentation, so that was pretty cool of them. Um, but yeah, I just don't understand why you would want to spoil that much of a game. I mean, you can show gameplay, you can show updates, you can make a trailer out of it, and you can talk about it and stuff, but don't just sit there and play 1 hour of the game and talk over it.
Yeah,
Especially when it doesn't come out for another 2 months.
that's a good point. I mean, like you say, you show gameplay, but you don't show an hour of gameplay. Just straight of one section of an hour of gameplay. I'm like, you are going. The only thing good is going to be good. It's if the game's good, you'll know it's good. But if it looks like shit, you're gonna know it's gonna be look like shit.
I mean, they could have done 1 hour, right? They could have done their 1 hour. They could have had a trailer ready to go. They could have started with talking about the game, cut to their trailer, 1, 2, 3 minute trailer, show maybe 10 minutes of gameplay, and talk about it, and how, talk about the behind the scenes of how they made the game and all this other stuff.
Mm,
And then they could cut away from that and end with their contest and do a Q&A with the chat and stuff like that and talk more about the game. They could have did it that way, but that's not what they did. When they clearly had something else to show, because at the same time they were on the expo, they
mm,
uploaded a game trailer to YouTube of a different game that they could have also shown on their expo, and they didn't do it.
interesting.
I don't understand why they weren't the only company to do that either.
I'm
Um,
not shocked about that though. I mean, especially if you only have the 30-minute block, you only have so much. But
well, they had an hour, so they were one of the few
yeah,
that had an hour. But still, they could have shown that game, then they could have talked about the other game that they uploaded the trailer for on YouTube. But they didn't do
mm,
that. I don't know why they did it the way they did. It was disappointing and it pissed people off. Then we had Nippon Ichi Studios of America, another company that I like a lot. They make more JRPGs and strategy games. They're most famous for their Disgaea series, which is a strategy role playing game. It kind of has that chess vibe where you have a bunch of pieces on the board and you
oh
move
yeah,
you move a certain amount of spaces, and when you're near your opponent you can attack them and stuff, and
like it's kind of like Risk.
kind of, yeah, in a way. It's considered a strategy RPG. I was hoping they were going to show the newest game in that series, but they didn't. What they did was very similar to Idea Factory International, only they only showed about 40 or 45 minutes of a game that they showed. They actually showed two games. The
Are
one, the
are
one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is there some of these games that they're showing off? Is these current gens or these next gen games?
One of them is next gen because it comes out next year.
Yeah.
Um, so one game they showed off is called Trails of Cold Steel 4, and it's the end of the current saga in the Legend of Heroes series. I don't know if you've heard of Legend of Heroes. It's been a series since 1989, going all the way back
No.
to the NES.
No.
So, and that series has spanned about six different platforms. It's been on the NES. It's been on Super NES. It's been on PlayStation. All the PlayStation consoles, and
What what's it called again?
it's called The Legend of Heroes. That's the title name, and the subtitle for the current saga is called Trails of Cold Steel. And
Uh
this one is the fourth game in that series. And they decided to start their showcase about midway through the game after you rescue the main character of the game from a situation.
mm.
And then they went and spoiled about 45 minutes of that game while they talked about it and everything else. And people were furious because a lot of people were looking forward to that game. I myself have the collector's edition pre-ordered for $100. It comes out October 27th, so we got about 4 months to wait before that game comes out. And people were not happy that they spoiled like 45 minutes of the middle of the game. Then they showed off another game in the Fallen Legion series, which I'm not too familiar with because I've never played a game in that series. But what I saw was all right. It interested me enough that I might check it out. That game won't come out until 2021, so I believe it's going to be on PS4 and PS5.
mm.
I don't know when next year it's coming out, but it's coming out next year. They showed about 15 minutes of that game, then they ended their presentation. Then Way Forward took their turn. Um, you're
Come on, way
familiar.
forward.
You're familiar with the Shantae games, right? I think you've played
Yeah.
some of them, right?
Yeah, I've played a couple of them.
So the latest Shantae game came out a month ago. Shantae and the Seven Sirens.
Mm.
And now I didn't know what Way Forward could have possibly shown. Maybe they were going to talk about some kind of DLC for the game upcoming, or maybe they were going to talk about something else, like maybe they had another game in the works or something. But no, what they did was they had one guy from Way Forward just do a let's play live stream of somewhere. I think the second dungeon in the Shantae and the Seven Sirens, and he was literally just playing through the game. Again, it's a
Well,
situation of where I could have just watched somebody on YouTube do that.
why would they want to do that? I mean, maybe their game's not yet. And this game's out right now, right?
Yeah, it came out a month ago. A lot of people have already played it. I've seen
So,
people play it on YouTube already.
I mean, I can understand it must they must not be doing good on it. They're like, well, let's promote it a little bit more. See if we
I,
can get more eyeballs on it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they did that as a way to say, "Hey, our game is out, and check this out, and here's an hour of gameplay footage." Which, if you're trying to get people interested in your game who haven't bought it yet, you're doing a good job by spoiling it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I had to go out again, and then SNK was taking their turn. I was interested in them, but I didn't go back to see what they put out. But I heard something about Samurai Showdown, Neo Geo collection or something
Hmm.
is coming out, so that's pretty cool. SNK is very big on fighting games,
Yeah.
which I'm a fan of. And then Axis Games took their turn, and I believe they're owned by Arc System Works, who make the Blaze Blue games and the recent Dragon Ball Fighters game that came out in January
Hmm.
last year. So again, I didn't see that because I was out and I didn't care to go back and look at it. But from what I described, Casey, out of the 7 hours, I've seen 5.5 hours of it. I think that
Was
was more
trash.
than enough. It sucked.
I figured it wasn't gonna be good. I was thinking maybe to look at it, but I'm like, I'm more like to watch the big three, what they're gonna do. Maybe EA uh or one of the smaller companies. If Sega had one that lasted like half an hour to an hour of actual game uh announcements. But when it goes to the indie games, I'm kind of like not really too interested.
And
So
yeah, I mean that's why I wanted to watch it because I knew I've heard of a lot of those companies that I play their games.
yeah.
Sega, Atlas, Idea Factory International, SNK, Nippon Ichi, Inti Creates, Way Forward. I'm familiar with all of them, so that's why I wanted to watch it, and I was very disappointed. And so were hundreds of other people that watched it.
Well, uh, when I skipped this, I was like, well, if there's anything good, usually you go on YouTube and it's like, oh yeah, this game's out, this game's out, this game's out. So that's why a lot of times, like a Nintendo Direct or something's out, you try to watch it live because if you don't, when you go on YouTube, it's gonna immediately spoil what games are out there.
Right, and if there's a game I know I want to play and I see people I follow uploading
Mhm.
Let's Plays of the game, I won't watch it because I don't want to be spoiled. And I ran
Yeah.
into plenty of spoilers because of this expo. Because I didn't get the new Shantae yet. I do want to, but
Uh,
I just haven't been able to yet.
I'm no hurry. Right now, I'm more. Yeah, I like getting the games for the Switch right now, but also, I've been enjoying getting PlayStation 4 games. So, uh, Shantae's not high on my list right now.
No, I mean I usually wait for a sale for that game.
Well, the one thing I don't know if this is on your list, but I know the new Avengers game's coming out pretty
Yeah,
soon.
that was announced at E3 last year, and
Yeah.
they Square Enix did a thing called a war table today, where
Mm,
they showed off a lot of gameplay and stuff like that. The game was actually supposed to be out in May, but it got delayed to September 4th.
because the coronavirus, I bet.
Yeah, mostly yes. Um, so I got to get that game at some point. But yes, I am interested in that game. I've been looking at it. I looked at some of the gameplay today.
Mm,
Um, so
looks pr- looks pretty cool. Too bad they can't have the likeness of the movie characters, the movie actors. But I understand that costs more money, so that's a sacrifice we had to do. But I'm afraid there's that one woman character you play that plays a hero. I'm hoping you can select your hero and not being, oh, I'm playing as a woman hero instead of playing as Iron Man or Thor or Hulk. Because I remember like X Men game where, oh yeah, you got Wolverine and Cyclops, but you play as this nobody you never heard of.
um, well, there are five main characters in that game. So you will play as Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk, and Black Widow. They are the top five main characters in that game. You'll
Oh,
probably
that's
you'll probably play as more characters, but those are the five characters you're probably going to see the most of.
it looks pretty cool to play. I can't wait.
Yeah, I want to get it. Yeah, I got that. Looking forward to it. And on the same day,
Mm,
I have the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Remaster 1 and 2.
mm.
I got the collector's edition for that. So
Well, I thought I ran into when I was going game shopping today. I thought I found that $300 pack for $60. So that's why I sent you a message. It was like, "Is this what you were talking about?" Because it had the scorpion mask.
well, no, that one was the Mortal Kombat 10 collector's edition. That one was
Yeah.
only 100. That one was only $150, and that one
Mm.
has a statue, a
Oh, that
scorpion
was
figure in it.
okay.
Yeah, that's a that one's a full figure. The one
Oh,
that has the
because
mask is the Mortal Kombat 11 one.
okay, because when I showed you the picture, you had the zoomed up picture of Scorpion. So I was like, is that it? I mean, I thought you said 11, but I mean, they have zoomed up on Scorpion. So,
Yeah, this one was yeah, that one the one that I got was Mortal Kombat 11 $300 one, but I do have that one, and I also have the $100 one. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. I'm fighting it off. I think I fought it off. Good. I also got the $100 one for Mortal Kombat 9 that came out in 2011. That one came with two statues.
goodness gracious. I mean, I don't get a lot of the collectibles. The only one that I ever did with that was the Sonic Mania. And the store I go to a lot, it's a chain called Vintage Stock. And they had one Switch copy. I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. I think it was dropped down in price. I picked that up.
Yeah, I'd say $760, whatever you got for the Mortal Kombat X one is still a good price considering I paid $150 for it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it was it's funny. There's one of the vintage stocks. I think still has the Xbox One version of Sonic Mania Collector Edition, or maybe it just recently sold. But I saw it sit there for like 2 years, no one buying it. I was like, really? No one's gonna pick that up?
So, yeah, you were talking about the Crash thing. The
Mm.
official reveal from that was on Monday. The actual release date is October 2nd, which is three 3 days after my birthday. So,
And it's not too far.
no,
Uh,
3.5 months isn't too far.
that's not too bad.
Going to going to get that with whatever money I get for my birthday. My grandmother usually gives me $25, and I'll probably get the rest of it somehow. But
Uh,
I'm definitely looking to buy that game for sure on day one.
did you see any gameplay on it?
Just the trailer that they released on Monday.
Okay, because I don't remember anything. Like I caught clock glimpse of it. I didn't see any really gameplay on it.
No, the only gameplay they showed, like I said, was from the trailer that was released on
Yeah,
Monday. So
and I can't wait. I think I'll. I don't think it's going to be day one pickup. Eventually, we'll pick it up.
well, I'll pick it up day one just because, like I said, I should have the money to do it. So I'm actually trying to look up this week's top list, and I'm having a hard time finding it.
I know one game's coming out. I mean, it's only any people in the community. The only good for is me is unless someone else has a VR
What's that?
PlayStation. Is the Iron Man VR is coming out.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
was gonna tell you about that, but I figured you might have already known. I figured you would like that.
oh yeah, oh I actually already have the demo out, and I already played it. It's real fun. When they showed it first time, released showed footage of it. I think it was last year or something.
Oh yeah.
People were like, "Ugh!" It looked like it was on rails, and you just shoot around. No, you fly. You fly around and you shoot people too. It's not just you just moving your hand around shooting. You flying around, you doing stuff. So, but you can easily get not only motion sickness, um, you'll be like all over the room.
Sounds like something right up your alley.
Yeah, so I can't wait for that. It's coming out very soon. They're gonna have skins, but the thing is, unless you, when you're playing as yourself, I'm like, how the hell are you gonna see your skin? Your Iron Man skin.
Right.
But there wasn't a lot of stuff that came out this week. I mean,
A lot of disappointing stuff, that's for sure.
yeah, nothing really big after the PlayStation 5 announcement. Nothing really came out. I mean, I was kind of hoping for, like I said before, I'm hoping very shortly we'll get a Nintendo Direct. I'm just dying for one because I'd love to hear about some new Nintendo games coming out.
So what was another thing? Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Nintendo leaving the mobile gaming market?
Ugh, good deal. They need to concentrate just on the Switch.
So you think you're glad that they're giving up on the games like Mario Kart Tour, Doctor Mario
Yeah.
World, and stuff like that?
Mario Kart Tour was garbage because I played it and you'll be you'll be weaving all over the road. I'm like, how the hell can you control it? You're not actually playing. I believe you're not actually playing people. You're playing against bots.
Well, actually, you do play against real people now, but that was the
They-
case at first.
But I did not like the controls on it.
A lot of people didn't.
The best one I liked was Super Mario Run.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty decent game, even though that cost $10 to buy.
Yeah, but
You got to play the first three levels for free, and then a thing pops up. Oh, $10 to continue playing the game. I'm like, thanks, Nintendo.
well, you know what? Actually, that is not as bad as than some of these other mobile games where you can spend hundreds of dollars just, getting little minor things that you don't actually have or get. So I'd rather pay $10 on a game that I can play fully through, and it's not going to have I believe any. It's. I'm thinking it does have some time things on it, but as you don't have to pay for anything after that. I'm not 100%. I hadn't played it in a while.
So today, a new Pokemon game was announced. They partnered with a company called Tencent, which is a Chinese game developer.
Mm,
They made a rip-off game. I don't know if you're familiar with League of Legends, or at least know at all what it is. It's been
no.
around. It's been around for the longest time. I figured you would have at least heard of it.
Uh,
League of Legends is one of those really popular fucking games that those like really hardcore PC gamers, a lot of them will sit down and play it for hours on end. And it's been
nah,
around forever, and there's like pro circuits for that game and everything.
nah. Because the only PC games I ever played, it was like back in the around the early '90s, give or take. Early to the mid '90s, maybe a little later '90s, like Doom and Duke Nukem and games like that.
So earlier today, Nintendo, not even Nintendo. the Pokemon Company did a live stream, and I'm trying to find it right now because I want to see what the like to dislike ratio is. Because last I saw it was really bad. People did not give a fuck at all about this announcement. A lot of people shit canned the video by disliking it, showing their distaste for the presentation.
Hmm.
It was an 11-minute video, and a lot of Pokemon fans, including myself, were really hoping for something else. Clearly, that we did not get. I was not expecting like any major, um, I wasn't expecting like any major game announcement.
Hmm.
After what I heard yesterday, that Nintendo wasn't backing the presentation like they did last week.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, if Nintendo's not backing it, then we're not going to get a major game release. It's probably going to be something on phones, and I was right to that aspect. But I figured, all right, maybe they're going to announce something for one of the games that's already out, like Pokemon Go or something. Well, that wasn't the case. I was disappointed. I didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. Um, yeah, they got backlash for it all day in the form of having their video strongly disliked. And I actually have the like to dislike ratio pulled up right here. Let me tell you how bad this is.
Uh
Hold on. Let me get it loaded. Okay, here it is. Okay, now one
Whoa.
194,730 people have seen this video. Okay,
oh.
there are
Okay.
there are only just under 4,000 people liked it, and over 23,000 people hated it. Out of
That's
everybody that rated the video,
that's not good.
no, it's not good. Um, let me see the comments section. Let me read a few of these comments. Not gonna lie, this one looks like one of those fake Pokemon games. Somebody else said the more money Pokemon game, the more money Pokemon makes, the less money they are willing to put into their products. Um, Let me see. Another person said, "I thought this was going to be a remake of the TCG from the Game Boy when they showed the trailer, so that was something different." Someone said, "Can Pokemon please stop pumping out these free to start mobile games?" That was 11 hours ago. I'll read a couple more comments here. This one person, Professor Bean, he says, "Can we all agree that they're trying to piss us off at this point?"
Is it related to Mr. Bean?
I have no idea. Um, One person made a joke, said, "I was expecting Floss DLC for Pokemon Smile," which Pokemon Smile is an app that was announced last week. I'm not sure if it's out yet. It probably is. It's a Pokemon game that encourages kids to brush their teeth. I'm not joking.
it
Um,
is. It doesn't shock me. Well,
somebody asked if this was a mod for League of Legends, and then somebody said, "In here, I thought the EA presentation was bad." Somebody said, "Pokemon, who asked for this?"
well, I noticed lately a lot of the fans did not like what they got. Like when they got, was it, which one came out first? I guess it was Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, and people really didn't like that. And then I hear a lot of people not crazy about the new Pokemon game. Was
So
it Sword and Shield?
The reasons, and I'll go into that because I know exactly what you're talking about. The reasons people didn't like the Let's Go games, personally, I thought it was great. It was an interesting game, a different take on the game. You still had the core battle system. All they did was changed how the Pokemon, how their powers were determined.
Hmm.
Kind of like Pokemon Go. Like you've checked out Pokemon Go, right? You've told me that before.
Yeah.
All right. So when you caught a Pokemon, or you clicked on one and it said a number, CP, combat power. Well, that's what Let's Go did instead of focusing more on their level and their stats. So they focused more on CP, and they used the Pokemon Go catching mechanic instead of the regular catching mechanic, and that's the majority of the reason why people hated that game. Other than that, it was just like any other Pokemon game. The reason people didn't care for Sword and Shield, which again I think is a pretty good game for what it is because Game Freak said that they were focusing on making the game as good as possible. They cut out a lot of Pokemon so that they can, make the game as detailed as possible. And the main reason people hated the new games is because of the Pokedex reason, and more than I think it was like 60% of all the Pokemon were cut out of the game,
Mm.
and now they're being re-added as DLC, as paid DLC. But along with the paid DLC, you also get story expansions and more areas to explore. So it's not like a cash grab. I mean, it is, but I
Oh,
feel it's actually worth it.
the thing is with Nintendo, I know this is more of the Pokemon company, but Nintendo usually does pretty good with DLC. It's more worthwhile. I
Right,
mean, it's like especially like during the Wii U when you got Mario Kart 8. Um, it didn't. I don't think immediately. No, it didn't immediately come with DLC. It came with it later on when it needed a little bit seasoning after people got through the first few cups,
right,
and then they're like, "Hey, we'll throw these other characters and other races," and then they brought that to deluxe. So you got the whole thing, and then they did it good. Nintendo usually does DLC pretty good.
right.
So
I mean,
if they if they fumble every once in a while, I don't take look down on Nintendo. A lot of times, they're gonna make money too, but they usually do pretty good DLC.
not every DLC is going to be perfect, and I think for what it is, the Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC, a lot of people
Mm,
actually like the DLC. They like the fact that we're getting a lot of the Pokemon back that were originally cut out of the game. They made more area specific forms of Pokemon. We cleared an event, so we're gonna get a free shiny legendary Pokemon next week. Every person who owns the games, so that's cool. Um, and for $30, you get two expansions and not one. So each one is like $15.
that's not bad. I remember back in the day when DLC was the 30 thing to do. It was people would shit um, on it, and now DLC is actually not that bad.
And now people are kind of praising it, and
Yeah.
because they put a raid battle in the game, and they said if 1 million players can beat it, we'll give you this legendary Pokemon that you have to beat, and we'll even raise the stakes and we'll give you an exclusive shiny version of it because shiny Pokemon are extremely rare to run into in the games. And
Hmm.
everybody lost their shit. We blew that goal out of the water. Almost 1.5 million people beat it. So
Hmm.
so that was that. All the news mainly that came out of this week so far. Hey Casey, Remember last week we tried talking about the 7 EA games that were coming to the Switch, and we only knew of 2 of them.
Yeah.
Well, we know of 6 of them now.
Okay, I like to hear them.
I got the list right here. So Burnout Paradise Remastered we knew about last week.
Yeah.
Apex Legends we knew about last week.
Yeah.
So FIFA 21, which is the new soccer game for the year,
I
that's
called that.
that's coming to the Switch.
Remember I called that? I was
Yeah,
saying it's gotta be FIFA.
yeah, you did. A game called Lost in Random is coming to the
Mm-hmm.
Switch. Uh,
Never heard of it.
Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered, which was actually a pretty good racing game for what it
Yes.
was. Um,
I,
that's coming over to the Switch.
I think I think that's the last one I ever played. I think that was on the PlayStation 2 was Hot Pursuit.
Yes.
So I'm really happy about
Actually,
that.
I think there was one on the PS3 and 360. I'm going to look that up in a minute. So Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered is coming to the Switch.
I
Plants
mean,
vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville.
I like that.
That's coming to the Switch. And an undetermined game from a studio called VLAN Studios. So we know 6 of the 7 games and one to still be determined. Let me see actually if they shed more light on the Hot Pursuit game. Um, let me see here. Let me just look it up.
Most of those games you said, I'm kind of interested. I mean, um, the two racing games, I'm kind of interested.
Burnout was
And
so fun.
yeah, Burnout was it Burnout Paradise? I'm kind of interested. Need for Speed, I'd like to try. Plants vs Zombies games. I played the one. Uh, I think I played it on PlayStation 4 when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it. It was uh, before the second one came out. The one with the was it? Trying to remember, was it Garden Warfare?
Yeah, Garden Warfare 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I like
Okay,
those
so this is
games.
exactly what I thought. The Need for Speed game, there was a
Mm,
Need for Speed Hot Pursuit reboot for PC, PS3, and Xbox 360 that released in 2010. That's the
mm,
version. That's the version we're getting on the Switch, which is
okay.
kind of. I had a feeling that that was going to be the case. But either way, it was still a decent game. I played every Need for Speed game that's come, that's come out, and I know they release like every 2 years. With the latest one being Need for Speed Heat, which I think was a shit title, but it was a pretty fun game for what it was.
I like remasters or remakes, but I believe Capcom is the one who does Resident Evil, right?
Capcom, yes.
So they love to like redo the same ones over and over and over. Oh, it's on the Nintendo 64. It's on the GameCube. It's on the Wii. It's on the Wii U. Now it's on the Switch. It's uh, it's literally the same game over and over and over and over. They remake. And yes, every once in a while they'll make a new one, but they love to port the old ones over.
Yep.
And I can understand you take one game and you port it to the next one, but or if that game is popular and you sit on it for a while and you want to go back and remake that, that's one thing. But when they're like doing Resident Evil 1, 0, 2, 3, 4 over and over and over again, it's kind of like how they uh, But Bethesda keep doing Skyrim. I mean, the running joke with Skyrim, where Skyrim's on every fucking thing. Skyrim's on running on your fridge.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. Skyrim's running on your fucking fridge.
Yeah. So I'm like, so you understand what I'm saying?
Well, remember when the PS4 and 3 and the Xbox One first came out?
Yeah.
Remember, like every month, oh, this game's getting a remaster. This game's getting a
Yeah.
remaster. That game's getting a remaster. I'm like, enough already. New ideas,
And
please.
yeah, I remember that. That's one of the reasons, like I'm actually after the show, I'm posting my PlayStation 4 review.
So you're doing that's what your part 9 that you're doing.
Yeah, part 9, and and that I didn't tell this part, but I'm like, well, I mean, I said at the point it was like I really didn't get a lot of games that I really wanted to play at the time. I mean, God of War wasn't out when I left from Pennsylvania to Oklahoma. Uh, and Spider Man wasn't out yet, and VR was kind of up in the air. I mean, and at the time, it's either I either get the VR or the Switch, and the Switch won over.
Well, yeah, because you just didn't know exactly what you were going to get out of VR, whereas you knew
Yeah,
exactly what you were going to get out of the Switch.
yeah. So, um, I forgot it was the whole point I was trying to bring up. But, oh yeah, about remakes. So that's why one of the reasons I didn't care about giving up my PlayStation 4 to my brother-in-law when I left, because like I told in story coming up that he put a little bit of money into the collection, but I would say 98%. Well, plus with my late wife, with this, she was more into the Sega Saturns and stuff. So a
Right.
lot of the Sega Saturn games was from her, but everything else was mostly me. And he put some games in there, and we put our money. Cool, we pulled our money to buy the PS4. We pulled our money to buy a second Wii U after our first Wii U broke, and then we pulled our money to get the Switch.
Right.
So I gave him the PS4, the PlayStation TV I had, and the games it went with it. So it was like, hey, if you have that, we want to call it even. And he's like, yeah. It's like, okay, cool.
That's pretty. That's neat. Speaking
Yeah.
of games, I noticed you really haven't done any pickups in the past couple of weeks. Did you buy any games lately?
I picked up a couple games, and actually I've been pretty broke the last week and a half, so I was kind of like, you know, pinching my pennies. But today I went and did some shopping, but one bunch of the stores really didn't see anything special, and I picked up a couple games. Nothing. I'm gonna go try it out again. If not this weekend, so actually, I picked up this game for the VR. It's called Gungrave VR,
Oh, Gungrave. I've heard of that.
and also went to Walmart and I picked up Crackdown 3
I've heard
for,
mixed reviews of that one. That's the one that took forever to come out on Xbox.
yeah. Well, when I only paid $9, I was like,
That's a
why
pretty good
not?
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
at
thought
least
that.
worth that much, if anything else.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? $9. But after that, and then like I showed you earlier, that piece of junk thing I bought for the hold my phone.
Yeah, I would fucking. I would take that thing back to Walmart and just be like, here, I don't want the $5. Just take this piece of shit back.
It's not even worth that. But
You could probably build a better one yourself for $5.
I was sure I was gonna pick up this like a buck and a half thing that just holds the phone up, just like a little phone holder, kind of like something that holds up your book, but it's smaller. It just holds up your phone upright, and I'll probably just pick that up next time.
You ever use a pop socket, like one of those round things that pop out that you could stick on the back of your phone?
Yeah, but
They
don't you?
stand your phone up pretty good, but you might not always get the angle you want though with the camera.
That's what I'm saying. I was afraid, like, put it there. I'm like, I mean, I use the camera off my phone because it's a lot better than the laptop I use.
Right? Yeah. Um, yeah. So pretty much got everything out of the way this week. All the news so far.
Oh,
Disappointments all around, pretty much, except for
I got,
Crash.
I got something
All right, go
else.
on. What do you got? What do you got?
Um, with these new consoles coming out later this year, I think we got one more year before either Nintendo's gonna produce the Pro because we're in the middle of the cycle right now with the three, at least 3 years, maybe 3 years and 3 months into the Switch.
Right.
And I'm thinking if it's not inside the fourth year, maybe fourth year and a half, we don't get the Switch Pro in the next year. I'm not saying it's not going to happen because uh, the PlayStation 4 Pro came out, and then they gave you some time to play with it.
At least a
And
good 3
same,
years with the Pro, anyways.
yeah, and same thing. 2 years for the X. So I
Right.
mean, they had to give you a little time with the Pro version. So I think if we don't hear anything for like, let's say from March 3rd of this year to March 3rd next year,
Right.
then I don't think the Pro is coming out.
Well,
Well,
if you said from March of this year to March of next year, we're already almost 4 months in to that period. So,
yeah. So I would
um,
say probably that. I mean,
they released the Switch Lite last year in September, I believe it was. So they
no,
did that. So I really don't know if they'll do a Pro, to be honest, for the Switch. Like you
yeah,
said, if it doesn't come out next year, if it doesn't come out no later than 2022, they're definitely not doing it. Because I
exactly.
would I would say by 2023 or 2024, they're gonna run a release their next thing. Which
Yeah.
honestly, they have a good thing going with the Switch, so maybe they'll make a Switch 2 or something like that. And
Oh, there. I definitely think that would be the case because,
work make bigger improvements on what they already have.
yeah, I
Because
mean,
technology always evolves. Every other month, there's new technology coming out.
exactly. And you obviously don't want to take on PlayStation, Microsoft with
No,
power.
like Nintendo's already said, they're not, they don't care as much about graphics. They're all about making their games fun and play well.
Exactly. I mean, usually their first party games are usually pretty good.
But you still got to have those fantasy dreams like, what if a major Super Mario game was put on PlayStation? How well can that possibly look and how amazing would it be?
Well, the
Or
only
a
good
Zelda
thing
game,
is,
or what if Pokemon was made by Square Enix?
well, the only reason I'd say if Nintendo does go to third party, at least they would focus more on the games instead of the worrying about the next console. Everything's just right on the games, and you can pretty much count on Nintendo being okay for years now. Especially,
Oh yeah,
uh,
especially Animal Crossing set a new earnings record for them for the first time in 12 years. So,
well, and minus the Wii U, the Wii was a huge hit. Uh, I think if people knew what the hell a Wii U is,
that would have been
then
almost as big, or just as big.
yeah.
You ever notice that every other console generation they kind of flop? Like the NES was pretty good, then they did great with the Super NES, then the N64 kind of flopped, and then the
Oh,
GameCube flopped even more. Then they had a big hit with the Wii, then the Wii U flopped, and now the
yeah.
Switch is doing great. So you wonder, are they going to suck with their next console, or are they going to go even higher from from what they're doing now.
See, the thing is with Nintendo, they keep innovating.
Yeah,
That's the good
they're
thing
not
with
afraid to
them.
try something new, whether it's good or not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they go balls out. They're like, we're gonna do this. Um, gosh, and I wouldn't say 64 was a flop. Yeah, did it get killed by Sony PlayStation 1? Yes, it did. It got killed by them, but it's still I think they sold I think 30,000 over 30,000. No, not 30,000, 30 million uh units
You're
made.
talking about the N64.
Yeah.
Let me see,
I know
N64.
GameCube only had like 20 million.
GameCube had 21, I think 21.27 million sales.
Yeah.
The N64 sold 32.93 million units worldwide.
And that's not bad. I mean, because they killed, they beat the Sega Saturn. So, they weren't dead last like the very next generation with the GameCube. That's when I thought, oh, they're done.
Right.
Uh, but then, yeah, people loved the Wii. Well, at first they loved the Wii, and then they realize it's just garbage. I mean, there's a ton of good games on it, but there's a bunch of good games, but then there's like four times more of garbage around it of garbage games.
So this week I was trying to do a different top list, but the one I wanted to do I couldn't find actually anything good on.
Mm.
So the top list I picked this week is called the top 50 video games of all time of the 1990s.
All right.
So
Hopefully this list is a little bit better than last time. It was like, it was until the top 10. It was actually good.
right, I'm just wanting to see how I can get this. Actually, you know what? I'll probably just do a monitor share. Actually, 'cause I tried to put the web page in, but it was like not scrolling with me.
Mm.
So let me see here. Let's do screen share, I guess. Screen share, screen share. Oh, you know what? Okay, I can't do that because I already have screen share going. Um, main screen share, maybe. I don't want to change this though. I want to add to it. Um, oh, you know what I'll do? I know what I'll do.
Uh-oh.
No, I know how I'm going to fix this. Main screen share. Okay, I'm gonna go to a different layout, different layer, and I'm going to do what I want to do this way. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is Google Chrome? Here it is. Okay, so as I scroll through this, we're not going to see your camera anymore for a little while, Casey, but I think that's all right. All right, top 50 best video games of the 1990s, and Casey, I know you prefer the 80s more, so next week I think we'll do the 80s.
That's fine.
All right, so description of this list made by a website called screenfellows.com. They also gave their own rating of each game. Let's see. It says, I don't know if the 1990s were the best decade for video games, but they were certainly the most transformative. The transition from
Yeah.
2D to 3D was full of trials and tribulations, but it was a necessary one. Some of the former games are in the pinnacle of their craft, and while some of the latter are pale versions of what would eventually be industry classics, others are still among the best ever made, despite looking like shit. Then they said I put some grades on these games, but they're still not super important, and really just represented letter grades. Okay, so he told me basically says how
Oh,
they rated it.
hold on. But these are the top 50, so they're like going from 50 down, right?
Yeah, from 50 to 1.
So why are they double grading it? And they're like, oh, this is top, this is number 50, but it also got this grade as well. I'm like,
And the thing is, he used an example, a letter and a number grade. Like he says, for example, a 9.5 would be an A plus, and a 9.0 out of 10 would be
yeah,
an A. So he puts number grades here, but not the letter grade. So that doesn't make sense at all. Thanks for the example that you really didn't use here. All right, so number 50, we're starting with a big one. I don't agree with this immediately. Number 50, Donkey Kong Country from 1994,
oh,
was given a 6.8.
it's a really good game. I mean, Super Nintendo, and then during that time frame, Nintendo took their Super Nintendo games and they put like FX chips and stuff like that and made their games almost from 16-bit to making them nearly damn near 32-bit games. And that's one of the games that was damn near looked way better than 16 bits at the time. Was Donkey Kong Country. So I loved that game.
I love it, but I think it should be a hell of a lot higher than the very bottom of the list. And listen to the
Like
description this person gave on it. Tell me if you agree with this description. One of
oh
the
no.
best platformers of its day has not held up very well by contemporary standards, but still fun enough and a still fun enough diversion. Donkey Kong is a weird series.
I don't agree with that. Like, how did it not age
I think
good?
these games age very well.
That's what I'm saying. I think it aged just fine. I can understand like they some of the 3D games from the 64 and PlayStation. Those games don't really age well because, like you said, when you transition from 2D to 3D, that they're testing the waters, so it's not going to look great. So I disagree with that person's comment.
I don't know if this was made by one person because the name of the website is called Screen Fellows. So
Yeah.
I would think it's more than one person who came up with this list. But
Mm,
number 49 is Mortal Kombat from 1992 with a 6.9 out of 10 rating.
I'm wondering which one they're talking about. I
It's
mean,
the first one from 92.
no, I'm talking about if they're talking about the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. I mean, uh, here's a fun fact. You know, they were saying that, oh, the Genesis is, no, Super Nintendo was heavily censored. Yeah, it was censored, but so was Sega. Yeah, they were actually more censored until the point until you put the blood code in, and then it was less censored than Nintendo.
And the only reason the blood code was found out was because a gaming magazine printed it in their issue.
Yeah, and then people forget about automatically like, oh, Super Nintendo is meant only a child game. No, plays only child games. That's what kind of gives them that. Oh, they're into just child games.
Right. So the description for this one is if the 90s were the golden age of fighting games, the first few Mortal Kombat releases were their punk phase. Loud, offensive, and staggeringly controversial. It's hard to conceive of a game receiving the kind of backlash today that Mortal Kombat 1 did 25 years ago. It's also
Exactly.
maybe not as good as a good a game as you remember. I mean,
God,
it's
they
definitely not
loved
as
it.
good as it's definitely not as good as we thought it was. I mean, obviously, come on now.
Well, I enjoyed it back in the day, and I think I would like it still today. So I'm just not good at them, but I think they're fun.
I suck at the original ones from the '90s.
Mm,
Any Mortal Kombat game from Mortal Kombat 5, which was Deception, or
yeah.
The Alliance, any Mortal Kombat from then on, I was pretty good at. But number 48, Another World by Delphine Software in 1991, got a 7 out of 10.
I got that game. I know it's got good graphics for the Super Nintendo, and it actually came on a bunch of other game systems like the 3DO and other systems. Like also, I think they have a version on the Jaguar, and it's also came out on recently on the Switch. So I really need to give that game a shot
The
again.
description for this one, I've never heard of this game actually, so known as Out of This World in America and Outer World in Japan. Another World is weird, sparse, imaginative, and highly influential. Even outside its genre where young developers such as Hideo Kojima and Fumito Ueda latched onto its austere aesthetic, vision, and cinematic cutscenes, a curious and sometimes beautiful game.
It does look like a beautiful game. Like I said, it looks pretty damn good for the Super Nintendo.
Uh,
What's
Number 47, F Zero X in 1998 for the N64. Got a 7.2 out of 10.
I didn't play that one as much as I did on the original one, or like, and I played a little bit on the GameCube, so I don't remember playing a ton on it on this on N64.
This one I've heard of F Zero, but I never had many N64 games, and this certainly wasn't one of them. The second, and in my opinion, best F Zero game stands as the epitome of everything the series should be: extremely fast and challenging. F Zero X is more sensory overload than precise gaming experience. Who cares about the horrible textures when you're flying by them at 1,000 miles an hour? Who cares
God,
about the bad textures, but yet you said Donkey Kong Country aged terribly?
what the hell? They're like, oh, it's a good game, but the fucking graphic sucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, they praise it and then they shit on it.
Number 46, Mortal Kombat 2 from 1993, also got a 7.2 out of 10.
I enjoyed Mortal Kombat 2.
I liked it more than the first one for sure. It definitely built on everything the first one was trying to do.
I agree, and it was a little bit more shocking than the first one.
Had more fatalities. Nintendo said, fuck you and your censorship
Yeah.
because they left that one alone as well. What would you actually watched a video by somebody earlier today? I forgot who it was, but they actually did a comparison with all the versions, and
Mm.
I did not know that this game came out on PlayStation later on.
Huh.
I knew about Mortal Kombat 3 on the PlayStation, but I didn't know Mortal Kombat 2 was re-released on the PlayStation when it came out. Um,
You know what? I wouldn't doubt if Mortal Kombat 1 came on the PlayStation as well, probably.
what do you think is the best version of Mortal Kombat 2?
If we're going to take the arcade out, I don't. It's hard for me to say. I mean, I grew up playing the Genesis version. Actually, you know what? I just remember I have Mortal Kombat 2 on the 32X. So maybe that would be the definitive edition that I have.
So the
A more
video, the video I watched earlier actually agreed with you. The
of what
person,
32?
the person who also was doing the comparison video I watched, also
Yeah,
said the 32X was the best version of Mortal Kombat 2.
that I was about to like. I can't really think of much. Then I've thought about it.
So here's this lame ass description. This description of Mortal Kombat 2 says, just look at Mortal Kombat 2 in comparison to the first one. It's much better looking, plays better, generally feels better. Probably the pinnacle of the series to this day. Bullshit. I agree with the first half of that, but it is certainly not the best game in the series.
Oh, I think out of the trilogy, the 1, 2, and 3, 2 was the best.
I would
Cause
say
by
I would say Ultimate 3 or Trilogy itself was the best out of the originals.
oh, because I mean I enjoyed 3, but by the time 3 came out, it wasn't as shocking as between 1 and 2. You pretty much knew what you're gonna get with
Well, yeah,
3.
they just expanded on it. Um,
I
number
I
num
I remember waiting for it to come in arcade. I was reading magazines like, when's Mortal Kombat 3 coming out?
and then everyone
Like,
got disappointed, and then they had to make Ultimate 3 to make everybody feel better.
I wasn't disappointed. 3. It was just I still enjoyed it.
So number 45, and this website forgot to put a picture for this one. Street Fighter 2: The World Warrior Edition from Capcom 1991 was given a 7.3 out of 10.
There's too many versions of Street Fighter 2.
There's like 7 of them, and I have 5 of
Yeah,
them.
I'm like, I remember they're like, oh, we'll have Street like my arcade cabinet says the Champion edition. I'm like, then you have Turbo, then you have Super.
Then you have
I'm like,
Hyper Fighting Turbo, and then you have
yeah,
on the Switch you have Ultra Edition, then on the PS3 you have HD Turbo Remix.
yeah. So I'm like, even during the Super Nintendo era, I was like, okay, let's move on to the next Street Fighter. Quit remaking the same Street Fighter game.
And remember, that's what AVGN said in that chronologically confused video. He's like, Street Fighter 2 this, Street Fighter 2 that. And he's like, okay, what's next? Street Fighter
uh,
3? No, Street Fighter 2 this edition. Okay, Street Fighter 3? No, Street Fighter Alpha. Then Street Fighter
yeah,
Alpha 2, and then Alpha 3. And then finally Street Fighter 3.
yeah. I know which one you're talking about. That was actually on the board game. He happened to
Yeah,
make his own.
him and his friends made their own Street Fighter 3
Yeah,
game.
and then he went on a rant about it.
So Street Fighter 2, the World Warrior Edition, which I don't even think is the best edition of the game. I think
I
Champion Edition Turbo was probably the better one.
I well, like yeah. I look on my consoles. I can see it Champion Edition. Then there's Super Street Fighter 2, the new challengers, and then Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. It shows 3 of them right there.
Yeah. And on the 30th anniversary Street Fighter game that came out last year on the PS4 and Xbox, there's 5 different versions of Street Fighter 2 on that one.
I
And to,
really like I really like how the the one that had a bunch of them together had Street Fighter 1. I don't know if it was called Street Fighter because I know on the Turbo Graphics or PC Engine
it was called
it was
Fighting
all
Street.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, the Street Fighter 30th
Oh,
Anniversary
okay.
Collection. It
Yeah,
came out
that's
last
been
year.
no. I think it came out a couple years.
Came out, was it last year? It was either last year or 2018. But
I think 2018.
yeah, but it had Street Fighter 1, which was, yes, called Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Plays just as bad as it did all the way back then. Then they had 5 versions of Street Fighter 2. It has all three alpha games, and then it has three versions of Street Fighter 3.
And you know what? For that, it was a good combo. I don't think that was full price. I think maybe that was $30 at the time.
It
I'm
was
not.
it was either 30 or 40. I got it for Christmas, so I don't know how much it was.
It was definitely not $60.
No, definitely not.
So I think it was a good deal for either 30, $40.
So, description for Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior, he says, I'd wager there isn't another game on this list still being played professionally all over the world. For everything else, Street Fighter 2 is including kind of weirdly racist at times. That's just what we need to bring up, racism in a time like this.
Good point.
That's all you really need to remember about it. It has a strong claim on being the best fighting game ever made. I don't know about that. Good fighting game, yes. Best fighting game ever made? No.
You know what? I wouldn't say it's racist. I think it's more stereotyping. I mean, like we were talking about this on Derailed. I mean, uh, the reason they call it stereotypes is because it's facts about that culture. So to me, it's like it's not really. But I'm gonna probably bring that up on Derailed. It's like, did you know Street Fighter Two was racist?
Well, actually, there is a bit of racism in the game. If you boot up, when you boot up the game, and if you actually watch the intro screen before you
Yeah.
hit the start button to play, you see the crowd of people, right? And then the building in the background. And then you see the two guys fighting. There's a white guy and a black guy fighting. And if you watch the full intro screen, you see the
Mm,
white guy punch the black guy in the face, and the black guy falls down.
mm, I wouldn't say that. I mean, that doesn't. I wouldn't say immediately. I think the characters and how they look, I would say that's more stereotyping than
I
that.
mean, back in the day, that's not seen as racist, and I wouldn't consider it racist because how many video games are out there where you could put a white guy against a black guy, right? Or
It,
in boxing or wrestling or anything. But
yeah.
in the culture we're living in right now, if somebody were to look at that, they would probably cry racism. Oh, that's racist.
Oh, I agree. That's why I didn't think about it until you said that. I was like, to me, it's more stereotyping and then racist. So to me, stereotype is not as bad to me because, like they said on Derailed, it's more about facts about characters, So to me, but like you said, people are gonna cry racist at Street Fighters eventually.
Number 42, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake from 1990. Got a 7.4 out of 10.
I never really played the Metal Solid games.
Well, this is before Metal Gear Solid. This is just straight up Metal Gear.
Oh, same thing.
Still made by, Kojima and Konami and all them.
Yeah.
I never cared for the series either. It says the first real inkling of Kojima's future insanity is found in what appears on the surface to be a relatively straightforward third person stealth game. Its weird Byzantine plotting was pretty radical by the standards of this day. It seems positively quaint compared to what would come a mere 8 years later. Also, this game definitely used Sean Connery's face without permission, and anything that makes Sean Connery mad is okay in my book. Wow, what a dickhead!
Ugh. I'm just like, yeah, they pump those games out so freaking fast. It's almost like it's not as fast as like these sport games they pump out, but almost as fast. Like the Assassin's Creeds, they pump that out every year or two. So I'm like, why am I gonna try to jump into it when there's like eight of them already? You know?
Yeah, I mean, how much better can a game look every year?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a sucker for baseball, so I'm going to buy the new baseball game every year. But other
And
than that, baseball and wrestling are the only games I usually buy every year. But WWE was so bad last year, I couldn't even buy that game.
uh well, I was the sucker who bought the Switch version. I still have the Switch version on the 2K17.
That's the only
It
one they
was
put on the Switch, too.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking bad.
Number 43. You're a Star Wars fan, right, Casey?
Yeah.
Number 43, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, 1998. They gave a 7.4 out of 10.
Hmm. I
N64
didn't
game, I can tell you that much.
I hadn't played a lot of the Star Wars games. Uh so a lot of them I had not played. I mean, the only one I really remember playing completely through is Star Wars Episode 3, and I played that completely through.
If the 90s were the golden age of fighting games, then there would certainly also be the golden age of flying sims. And Star Wars license was right at the peak of that wave. Rogue Squadron is hurt by some generational graphical limitations, but it is surprisingly expansive and fast even today.
I, like I said, they kind of pumped the Star Wars out, these games out a little too fast. I mean, they even announced a new one recently. I mean, actually, when I was going looking through the VR games, I guess the new one coming out, it's also going to have some kind of VR because they put it in there in
Really?
the yeah. So I'm
Which
like,
one is that? I'm trying to think of what it might be. I might have
so
heard about that, but I don't remember what it is because I know Fallen. What was the last one called? The Fallen Order or something like that, and that just came out.
yeah, I think so.
Um, Number 42 is another Star Wars game, back to back Star Wars. Star Wars X Wing from LucasArts 1993 for the Super Nintendo. Also got a 7.4 out of 10.
I got an idea. Want to do half tonight and do the other half another time because I don't. I'm getting really tired, and I don't even know if I can make it through all the way to one.
I mean, if you want to do it that way, we can. So in
And
that
we can.
case, we'll stop at 25 then.
Yeah, that sounds good
All right,
because
so we're almost halfway there. So to that, anyways.
and like I said, and like I hadn't really played a lot of these Star Wars games. I mean, uh, so I really don't have much opinion.
This one says, and yet X Wing is the better game. It's slower, more thoughtfully paced, and more complex. It's also probably looks better these days than Rogue Squadron, which is more the fault of the N64 than anything else.
I might have actually played Rose Squadron, but maybe a little bit now thinking about it, but definitely not this one.
Next game on the list is one Joe would like. The first Diablo game from Blizzard Entertainment in 1996.
Yeah, he would definitely. I never played Diablo games.
I tried the third one. I didn't like it, honestly. They're called roguelikes because of Rogue, but for a few years, a couple decades ago, they were called Diablo clones. Perfect, perhaps the forgotten link in Blizzard's nigh invulnerable run from the early 90s to 2003 or so. Diablo 1 is an excellent game. The first time you play it, I don't really think it has any replay value, especially not compared to the direct successor, one of my favorite games of all time. So this guy is extremely biased to some of these games. Number 40, Roller Coaster Tycoon, 1999.
I never really played Roller. Coaster Tycoon, I know. I hear they're pretty good. Um,
I've seen people play them.
the game that came close that I love playing is called Theme Park.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
And actually, the first time I played it was when I had the Sega Channel, and it was one of those games that was always an option, and I would always play that one. And I want to try to get it for the Genesis, but I never see it out there. But I do have several versions of it. So
So this one it says if this list were based on how much I'd play these games, Roller Coaster Tycoon would easily be the top dog. Just in the summer of 2000, probably put 200 hours into it. You're supposed to be reviewing these games, not telling your personal opinion, you jackass.
no, I thought you were giving your opinion.
No, I'm reading the descriptions of these games. This person's putting here. Mainly late at night when I couldn't sleep, the optional hour for gaming is in my opinion, it ends up being a little hamstrung by its steep learning curve. But I've never played a more quirkily enjoyable sim game. Also, you can throw people hundreds of feet to their fiery doom. What a sadistic prick!
Yeah, I tell you this. At least you know this is a better list than last week.
It's more entertaining
So,
at the very least.
yeah, I agree about that.
Here's one you like. I know for a fact you like. NBA Jam, Midway Games 1994.
Oh, I love NBA jams,
Uh, uh,
especially I remember playing the arcade game at like roller skate rings, skate rinks. I usually go over there and play NBA Jam and all the popular games, and I would mostly played that on the Sega Genesis with my brother, and probably with my cousins and friends.
I love NBA Jam. I played the shit out of it because my cousin had it. My cousins had it on the SNES.
Mm,
I have the Genesis version, which you said you like more over the other ones. So
yeah,
I have that version. I loved NBA Jam. I even bought the remake that they did on the PS3, I believe it was, and the 360. The
yeah.
NBA Jam on Fire. That game was so good too.
I think I might have a copy as well, but I'm not 100% sure. I see it NBA Jam right there for the 360.
Yeah, that game was so good. I loved it. Um, I believe in the original ones. Was it NBA Jam that you could also get Scorpion and Sub Zero from Mortal Kombat in that game? I
I'm
don't
not
remember.
100% sure.
I know. In the On Fire edition, you were able to get the President of the United States at the time in the
Oh
game
no, you
somehow.
could have that for the original one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like you play as Bill Clinton. So that was a cool thing. You can play as different people, or your characters have giant heads or something. I remember those. I love those cheat codes. But I prefer NBA Jam normally. I'm not a big fan of Tournament Edition.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree. So this one says it's NBA Jam. You know what it is. Maybe it's not the best sports arcade game ever made, but it is certainly the most influential. I think
Probably
I would.
one of the best. Probably one of the best sports games that came out from the arcade.
Oh yeah, back in the day, especially.
Yeah.
So
Oh, free back.
number 38, Quake 3 Arena, 1999 by id Software.
You getting some feedback?
Okay. Oh, from what?
I don't know. Now it's gone.
I wonder what it was then. That's weird.
It's kind of getting a little bit back, but um.
I'll have to listen to it
Oh
back then.
God.
Is it like really bad now?
Yeah.
What the?
Oh,
Unless it's my fan. It could be my fan.
Did you just turn your fan on or something?
No, it was on the whole time actually. Oh boy,
Because it goes on and then it goes off.
that's strange. I'm gonna have to hear that for myself when I watch this back and edit it. Then, um, anyways, Quake 3, number 38, Quake 3 Arena, 1999, by id
Mm.
Software.
Uh, I like the quick games. I played one, and I believe I played two on PC. But three, I know it came on Dreamcast. I never really sat down and played it yet.
I played the first one. I also played some of the other ones on what you call it on what do they come on
PC.
PC? Yeah, on Steam. I played. I tried Quake Champions,
Mm,
Quake Live. I've tried. I thought those were all right.
I enjoyed the Quake games. I mean, it was an evolution from it was the next step after Doom.
This one says, "Is it bad that I don't love the Quake games? I think they are excellent, but pale shadows of Doom and the Unreal series. Regardless, Quake Arena is one of the most important and influential PC multiplayer shooters of all time." Number 37, Final Fantasy V by Squaresoft in 1992.
Hold on, Final Fantasy V. That's the Japanese version.
Yeah, what was that, 2 for us? Or no, we never got that one, right?
No, two. I think we got one. Then we skipped two in Japan. Three was our two, and I think we skipped four and
4 and 5, because 6 was our 3.
exactly.
Yeah, so we never got 5, so this guy's cheating.
Yeah. So skip this one.
All right. Number 36, Mario Kart 64 in 1996.
I enjoyed Mario Kart 64. I kind of like the original better. If I had to choose between that one and Mario original Super Mario Kart, but I enjoyed Mario Kart 64.
I loved it. I played it a lot with my cousins. Played it a lot with my dad. I learned all the shortcuts in that game, like in the Koopa Troopa Beach or whichever level that was, where you could hit the ramp and drive through that tunnel to take that
Yeah,
shortcut. Or you would learn how to do the perfect hop and jump over the wall and skip like the entire lap in the Wario Stadium.
I'm kind of hoping if they're gonna remake a game, this should be on the Switch, a remake of it.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what they're gonna do or when they're gonna put out Mario Kart 9 because I feel like we're due for that.
Yeah, especially because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is just a port of 8.
Yeah,
So
the best Mario Kart, only rivaled by 2014's Mario Kart 8. Speak of the devil. It's
yeah.
also the game most likely to cause otherwise normal, upstanding members of society to want to brutally murder everyone in their immediate vicinity.
What?
Not that I've done that, not since high school at least. At least this guy's got a sense of humor.
Well, you know what? Actually, I enjoyed the ones afterward a little bit better. I like Double Dash on the
I didn't
GameCube.
I didn't like Double Dash. I played
No,
Mario. I liked Mario Kart DS. I didn't play Mario Kart Wii because again I hated the Wii. I never got around to Mario Kart 7, but I did play 8.
I enjoyed Double Dash, and I enjoy Mario Kart Wii. I can actually win some freaking rounds on the internet on the Wii version, but on the Wii U and on the Switch, oh god, I'll be lucky if I get a win out of 100 races.
We know what it is. You always get blasted with that freaking seek and
Well,
destroy blue shell.
it's not only that you have these people that's all they play.
Yeah,
I
that too.
mean, so it's mostly I'm the old fart playing this game now. So like while you have these kids, they all they did is learn about the game.
Number 35, Banjo Kazooie, 1998, before Microsoft bought them.
Here's a here's a crime. I never actually played them. I
I
need
did, and
to.
I didn't care for them.
I hear they're really good. I really need to give them a shot. And especially, I got Rare Replay. There's no reason why I shouldn't even play at least on the Xbox One.
Yeah,
So I
I
need.
tried it on the original N64. I didn't care for the first one, so I never bothered to follow up with the other ones.
You know what? I gotta make that point, and I might just pull that game out because that makes me ashamed not ever playing that.
There's a lot of other good games on there too, like Killer Instinct Gold and Battletoads and RC
Yeah,
Pro
and
Am is on there. Perfect Dark is on there.
yeah, it's almost like you have the damn disc on. Yeah, RC Program 2 actually is a very rare game for the NES.
So
And
the
I love Solar Jetman too, so pull this out so I'll play this another time.
The description for Banjo Kazooie, the writer put, I've always called the 90s the golden age of flying combat sims, JRPGs, and fighting games. While it is not the golden age of platformers, it does feature one of the best in the history of the genre, which just happens to be one of Rare's best games. Banjo Kazooie is really good, is what I'm saying. Better than Donkey Kong Country? I don't know. Better than Donkey Kong 64? Sure. I don't know about better than Donkey Kong Country. Number 34, Super Smash Bros. Original, 1999 for the N64.
Uh,
This game
I,
is trash compared to what we have nowadays. I'll
I
just
was
say that.
never a big fan of the Smash Brothers. Like you said, you noticed I'm not a big fighter fan.
Right.
Except like the Street Fighters and the Mortal Kombat and like Killer Instinct. But after that, it's kind of like, and even Injustice recently in recent years. But after that, I'm like, it's because when either I'm just not good at fighters, that just kind of like you get that one person online, they'll kick your ass. Even though, yeah, this version is not like that, but
Have you ever seen the commercial for the 1999 Smash Bros. At least the one where like they're all
yeah,
prancing around the field together, and then
yeah,
Mario just kicks Yoshi, and then I forgot who it was. One of them hits like Pikachu with a hammer, or and
yeah,
then like one of them picks the Pikachu up and throws it across the field. That
yeah,
commercial was legendary. I loved it.
yeah. I remember that commercial.
Super Smash Bros. In retrospect, is a pretty insane concept for a video game. Only a company like Nintendo, in arguably the prime of its game making career, maybe, would even think of attempting something like this. How insane then that has actually worked. The original Smash works almost in spite of itself. It's such a strange and brazen uh, conceit that it gets away with not really being a full game. As a proof of concept, it is pretty great.
But isn't the Smash Brothers uh made from a different company though? Like
Well, it is Nintendo IPs. HAL Laboratories is part of
that's
Nintendo.
why I thought. That's why I thought it was HAL Laboratories. I was about to say that.
Yeah, and they actually don't make Smash anymore. It's more like Bandai Namco does most
Oh
of
yeah.
the work on Smash nowadays.
Oh really?
But it's all Nintendo's IPs and stuff, and now third
And
party
third,
characters.
well, I think in recent ones, especially the Wii U and the current one, but I think also what the Wii had some third party.
Yeah, the Wii one had Solid Snake. It had Sonic.
Yeah,
It had trying to think. There's a couple more characters. I know Pac-Man and Mega Man weren't until the Wii U one. So,
I
but
tell you what, the next one's better pick it up because I mean they gotta bring it because how the hell are you gonna beat with all the characters?
yeah, I don't know if there's going to be another one after this one. To be honest, number 33, Duke Nukem 3D,
Oh,
1996.
I love that game.
I do,
I
man.
just it recently just came on the Switch on digital, and it's half price right now. So I picked it up for $5. I like it.
If you like this one, you should probably try out the new one called Ion Maiden. It's made in the same exact style. Only it's like a female Duke Nukem.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been meaning to try that game too, but I don't want to pay $25 for it.
Well, if it's digital, I usually try to wait
Yeah, that's
for
what
it
I'm
to go
doing. I'm
on
waiting
sale.
for a sale.
Yeah. Why pay unless you badly want the game? I wait for a sale.
So this one says it might surprise you that for all the things you might know Duke Nukem for, it's their level design that always stands out most to me. Duke Nukem 3D is a masterwork of genre with the impossible architecture of Doom and the spatial acuity and sense of place of Wolfenstein. Yet somehow, more than both of those, Duke Nukem, the character, may have aged poorly. Yes, it did. But Duke Nukem, the series, remains one of the most weirdly brilliant and in, innovative shooters of all time. I remember playing Duke Nukem. My dad bought it for the PlayStation
Yeah.
back in like '99, and he was like a guy over the road. Like he drove tractor trailers over the road, kind of like what Justin's doing now.
Yeah.
Um, so when I was home and he was over the road, I would play this game, even though I was only 10 years old and I shouldn't have, because of the nudity and the violence and the cursing and everything in it. But it was one of those games, and then I played Duke Nukem Forever, and I enjoyed that for what it was. But I know that game gets really bad press because
Yeah.
that game was in development hell for 12 years.
And you know what's funny? It didn't take long before that game got like cut down to like bargain deal, like less than $10.
Yeah, it's like nobody liked it.
Yeah, it was like down to like $5. It's like, please buy me.
Number 32, Star
But
Fox
hold
64 and 97.
on. The one other thing about Duke Nukem 3D, when I played it on the Switch, it's the uncensored version
Oh,
because
nice.
I went to the strip joint part and usually if well I'm like, okay, which one is this gonna be, because I know there's censored version, like you go to the ones where you go to the you know the video game section, no, video store,
Yeah,
and then uh in the back has the you know
the adult
the
section behind the
the
curtain,
adult
and,
set,
and then there's a
yeah,
door behind the curtain.
yeah, and then the sensor will show something completely different, but even the uncensored one was not even that bad because it's either a girl just kind of seemed like she's moaning or a dancing girl on the TV screen. But when you go to the strip joint part of the level, when you tip them the money, one of them shows their tits. I'm
Yeah.
like, and it shocked me. I'm like, that's on Nintendo?
I mean, there was, I guess, the censored version was on the N64, as I remember that got an N64 port, but we got the PlayStation port, and I believe that was the
Yeah.
uncensored one too.
So yeah, I wouldn't doubt if that 64 one was the censor version.
Wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, Nintendo allows a lot of stuff nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in recent years, they have let some stuff go.
32, Star Fox 64, 1997, got an 8.1 out of 10.
I hear it's really good. I played the first one. Tried to play Star Fox Zero, but the controls are hard as hell.
I remember playing the GameCube one back in the day when stores like Kmart and Walmart still had the kiosks where you could try games before you bought them.
Yeah.
I remember playing the GameCube one, and I thought it was all right, but I never really got into the series. So this
Uh, and I'm hearing the Star Fox 64 is the best.
that's what I've heard too. Um,
And I once one of those games, like obviously you can see behind me that I got a backlog. I'm like a lot of times I'll try to get to them, and then I want to play a game of something that I want to replay again.
right.
So
Yeah, I know that feeling. I have a backlog building up myself. The undisputed king of rail shooters, Star Fox 64, along with being a legitimately great and challenging game, perhaps the best indicator of just how on fire Nintendo was in the latter half of the 90s. They were putting out too many classics that people actually went out of their way to buy the 64. One of the least reliable and shoddily made consoles in history. Uh, N64 is pretty. Star Fox 64 is pretty great though. Number 31, Unreal Tournament by Epic Games, 1999.
I never played that one.
I played three. I played two and three. And I've also played the alpha build of Unreal Tournament 4 that got canceled on PC.
Yeah.
I liked the games for what they were. I think if you liked, Quake and stuff like that, it's pretty much the same game.
Oh really?
Yeah. But of course,
Oh.
Unreal is dead now, so.
Uh, I don't get to play everything, so
Yeah, I mean, neither do I, so. This one says Unreal Tournament 2000 is a better game than Quake 3. But if I had to, I'd start with the level design. Quake 'Three's levels are all fun to traverse, but sort of uninteresting. Just a lot of average looking arenas and industrial areas. Unreals are pictured above weird repositories of untold lore and wonderful skyboxes. If two games were exactly the same in every way, I'd always pick the one with more interesting scenery. And of course, the person says the picture is linked above, but actually didn't put one there. So good job, author.
I
Here's a
mean,
game. Oh, go ahead.
I would have to. This list is 100 times better than the last one because you know I have to give it to them.
Well, this list is going to get even better, and I have a feeling the other half of this list next week is going to be even better than this. Here's a game we talked about last week. Number 30, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles.
You had to put them together, like we said before. It was originally both going to be one game, but
The cartridge
like you
couldn't
said,
handle it.
yeah. Well, one they wanted to get a game out for Christmas, so and Sonic 3 was good by itself. And then when they had Sonic Knuckles, that was another the other half. So you're literally playing one mega game.
And part of the reason, too, was because the cartridge couldn't handle the size of the game, so they had to split it in half, anyways. And they didn't
Yeah.
want to delay Sonic 3 because they wanted to get something out for Christmas that year, so that's why they released it the way they did. And Sonic and Knuckles is the only specially made cartridge for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah,
Um,
something like that. I mean, they do have the game Genie as well, but as a cartridge like that, yeah, that's the only one.
I loved this game back in the day. I still say Sonic 2 is better, though. But this game is
Oh,
fun when you can play it all in one go.
the good thing with 3 and Knuckles is they gave you save slots.
Right, yep. Yeah, absolutely. Which I'm
While
glad Sonic Mania brought those back. By the way.
yeah, while one and two never did. So like if you like, I didn't have a good attention span, and it's either that or I would die some a bunch of times somewhere. I was at the point of being like, screw it, I'm done for the night.
Right. Yep. Yep. And like you'd have to leave your console on all night to get to continue playing. Where
Yeah,
you left off if you got tired of the game or you wanted to go to bed or something.
yeah,
So this guy says, I'm not saying Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles are the same game. I mean, it is, in a way.
it,
I'm saying they were intended to be the same game, which is what we were just talking about,
yeah,
and had to be split apart for storage reasons. They play the same and are generally considered to be two halves of one story. For as much
exactly.
story matters in a Sonic game, they are also the last two classic Sonic games. The end of what, in retrospect, was surprisingly short stint at the top. More to come on that later. Hint, hint.
Yeah. Well, well, yeah, like gosh, I mean, yeah, we eventually got Sonic 4, but it was not. It was you streamed the game and it was God, it was awful, and you had two episodes of it. I'm like, ugh,
Technically, there was supposed to be an episode 3 because there was supposed to be a Metal Sonic part
yeah,
in that game, but it got canceled because of it just didn't do as well as Sega hoped, so they canned it.
yeah. That's why I heard too that it was supposed to have three, but I only saw two came out,
Yeah, episode 3 was supposed to happen, but it never did.
and then
Um,
that, and then after, I mean, somewhere Sega CD came out. I know for sure before Sonic 3, but
Well, Sonic CD was supposed to actually be Sonic 2, but Sonic Team couldn't agree
yes,
on a game for Sonic 2, so they split the team in half, and one team worked on CD, and the other team worked on Sonic 2. And obviously,
so,
you know which one we got first.
and then it's like after that, we didn't get a proper Sonic game for the Saturn. It took all the way until the Dreamcast to get a proper Sonic game, and the Sonic Adventure games are good.
Oh yeah, I think personally, I think Sonic Heroes was the last good 3D Sonic game. But
Mhm.
some people will say that there's no such thing as a good 3D Sonic game.
Well, I know for sure Sonic 3D Blast sucked ass.
Yeah, it did. That one was
Yeah.
terrible. So number 29, we're almost to the halfway point, Casey.
Okay.
Resident Evil 2, 1998, Capcom.
That, Resident Evil games, they were just never my thing. I mean, I am playing 7 on VR, but as that was something more that my late wife was into. Me, it's not like I'm scared of it, but it's just when I heard about them and they're ready. When if I'm already like 3 or 4 games in a franchise and I hadn't been in there just yet, it's like I don't feel like jumping in because I don't like. Do you have to know what's happening? So that was something my late wife liked, and also I know her older brother liked playing.
Right. I mean, my brother loves horror games. I don't love horror really at all. The only horror I would say I played was the Bioshock games, if you could even consider those horror. But yeah, whenever he would play Silent Hill or Resident Evil or whatever, like when we were teenagers and we had to share a bedroom, I
Yeah,
would sit. I would just sit for hours and just watch him play and then just enjoy it that way. And that's
that
how I got into liking YouTubers and watching Let's Players and streamers because it just reminded me of those days when I did that, watching my brother play those kinds of games.
yeah. Like I would watch my older brother play. Um, The only two games that really scares the hell out of me. Well, the first one was I was playing PT.
Oh yeah, that game. I watched somebody on YouTube play that because I mean I downloaded it just to have it. So
Be-
because especially because it got taken off of PlayStation Store, and then that game never became anything because
yeah,
Konami canned it.
yeah.
But yeah, I never played it. My brother played the trailer though. I saw
You should
someone on
try.
YouTube play it, and I was just creeped out alone just by that alone.
You should try it. It is fun. But the next one, I played the Five Nights at Freddy games on mobile before, but recently they released them on not only on the Switch, but it's on the VR.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, if they're gonna jump out right in front of my face, I mean, it's gonna scare the shit out of me. And I was doing the stream of it, and I literally just said, I can't handle, I can't do it, and I just had to take the because I knew I was about to die.
Kind
And
of like
so,
Joe's wife. She can't handle horror games either. Watching her play, fucking what was that one? Friday the 13th and RE2, the remake was great.
oh yeah,
So this one says it's kind of hard to remember how important Resident Evil was in the late 90s. 1998 was one of the best years in the history of the medium. Resident Evil 2 was arguably the biggest release of the year, only competing with another monolithic Japanese game that we'll get to. Hint, hint. Later on in the list. I don't know how well it has held up, even compared to the direct predecessor, but all my memories of Resident Evil 2 are good ones.
and
Here's. I'm sorry, go ahead.
is that what he said, or are you saying that?
No, I'm reading his. All of this is his descriptions.
Like you saying, it's saying, "Oh, I put my time in." I'm like, just say, your
See, when you're
opinion.
reviewing the game, you're not. I mean, you're supposed to put in your personal opinions, but you're not supposed to use the words like me and I and you're
Yeah,
not supposed to talk in the first person.
yeah, going like, I put over 200 hours in this game. I mean,
No,
you could put 200 hours in playing a garbage game, and that doesn't make it good.
right. Another one this author didn't put an image in here for, and we talked about this one last week, so we could just go through this one quickly. Number 28, Sonic the Hedgehog, 1991.
Oh, I love it. I love the original.
Um,
Uh,
of course, we said last week in 40 episode 41 that Sonic 2 we agreed on was better.
hmm
Uh,
But but going from 8-bit games from the NES to the Sega Genesis, it was just a giant leap. It
oh
felt
yeah,
like you could tell the difference, especially when you're playing Super Mario Brothers. Even with Super Mario Brothers 3, you seen Sonic 1 and how fast you can go with it, especially in the first couple levels.
yeah.
I love Sonic 1.
So this description says, for all intents and purposes, gaming in the 90s started here with this dumb blue hedgehog. A lot of gaming companies tried to usurp the Mario series with cool, edgy, anthropomorphic animals. I'll get there in the end. But none of them did so with the wit, visual brilliance, speed, and clarity of purpose as Sonic the Hedgehog did in '91. It was a relatively short reign at the top of the heap for these games, but they set a tone that games today are still trying in vain to emulate.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Sega didn't even make Sonic Mania. It was a friend project.
Yeah,
That,
Christian Whitehead made that one.
so
He
it's
he
like
made fan games and then Sega hired him, so technically Sega still made it.
mm, they hired him. It was his game.
Yeah, they hired him to do the phone ports of Sonic 1, 2, and CD,
Yeah.
the PS3 and 360 port of Sonic CD, and Sonic Mania, but they won't let him remake Sonic 3 for whatever reason. That's the one everyone wants him to do, but Sega won't
Oh,
let him do it. And now because he's a Sega employee, he can't
yeah.
just go off and make it on his own.
Well, I'm thinking the reason is because we do know for sure Michael Jackson did put music inside the game,
He
but
decided not to be credited because he was unhappy with the sound chip of the Sega Genesis and how it sounded.
you could also take those uh the music out. So let's say take the music out and plug something else in. Um, I don't see why you couldn't put Sonic 3 in.
Yeah, I don't know, but number 27, Half Life Opposing Force. Gearbox Software, 1999.
I only played a version of Half Life on Dreamcast.
Yeah, I don't care for Half Life myself. I don't think we're ever going to get Half Life 3, so people really just need to stop with waiting for that one. This description says, without spoiling, it's safe to say that you'll see the original Half Life further on down this list. Well, you just spoiled it. Thanks a lot, you shithead, after saying you weren't going to spoil the list. And while Opposing Force is an admirable follow up made by famed gaming mercenaries Gearbox back in the day, there's something about this that feels off compared to its more venerable cousin. The guns aren't very well balanced. Pretty much all of the new enemies vary from unmemorable to achingly unfun to fight. The basic premise putting players in the shoes of HECU Marine Adrian Shepard was a good one, but it veered the tone of the game closer to those of the generic military shooter, a genre given then oversaturated. A genre even then oversaturated. Still a very good game. 26. I think we're gonna blow through
Oh,
this one
well,
because
hold on. The one thing about why we'll not it's not only we're not gonna get Half Life 3. Supposedly there was supposed to be Half Life 2 po- Chapter 3 that never came out. So I think the reason is Valve really don't need to make games no more. I
no,
mean,
because they have Steam. They're making a killing off of
yeah,
their own
they're like
platform.
fuck it, we don't make games no more. So
Although they have said they were gonna start slowly making some games again, but they
yeah,
weren't gonna do it very often.
yeah, and like there's no point. They don't need to. I mean, yeah, I guess if they want to, fine. But like you said, they got Steam. I mean, that's where PC people go to play their games now.
Yeah, because everybody hates the Epic Store, that's for sure. Number 26, safe to say we don't give a shit about this one. Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness.
Oh,
Blizzard,
you
1995.
you can say that. I've enjoyed Warcraft too.
Oh, so you have played this one. I didn't think you did.
I enjoyed 1 and 2.
Oh, okay, I apologize. Uh,
When you said that, I was like, oh, because I actually, yeah, I loved playing those on the PC. And yeah, that game I talked to you about, Command and Conquer, that is what Joe's been playing. And it kind of reminds me of Warcraft.
oh,
So
okay.
uh, I do have a version. I think there's a Sega Saturn version and a PlayStation version. I enjoy playing it. It's honestly best playing it on PC, but
It
it's the
sounds like
next
a
best.
PC game, that's for sure.
It's definitely the next best thing what I could do right now.
This description says while they would go on to perfect this form with two later titles, Warcraft 2 and its expansion, Beyond the
Mm.
Dark Portal, Whereas for many people, myself included, there's the first person talk again. A bold thesis statement for what was then still a fledgling Blizzard Entertainment. The reason Warcraft 2 is lower on this list than, say, StarCraft is that the balance is still not quite perfect, and the source material probably still too derivative of Warhammer and a dozen odd other fantasy stories. While I'd say
uh,
Warcraft storytelling and general lore have improved, I still pretty easily think it's the least interesting of Blizzard's IPs.
well, I think StarCraft is on the 64. I'm not 100% sure if I have it, but um, watching Joe play that Command and Conquer makes me really want to play Warcraft again.
Really?
Yeah.
So here's the last one we're going to do for tonight. We're going to end on this one. Number 25, Resident Evil 1, Capcom, 1996. Got an 8.4 out of 10.
Like I said, I've never really played except like I said before, except Resident Evil 7,
Right.
and only because it's on the VR. And before that, I played the demo. So,
So
uh,
before we get into the end of this, are you going to play Resident Evil 8? Because that's also, I believe, going to have the VR built into it too.
it depends. I don't know if the VR's. I mean, supposedly the PS5 is backward compatible, but is that going to even able to use the VR headset with that?
Well, Resident Evil 8 will be on PS5. I would imagine they're going to have some sort of VR on there because they didn't say they were going to get rid of it. So,
Well, the thing is, I mean, now the VR headset, I believe the PlayStation VR was actually the most successful one
right.
because it's the cheapest.
Well,
I
actually,
mean,
Nintendo Labo VR is the cheapest, but do you really consider that
uh,
VR?
yeah, I enjoyed playing the Mario Odyssey version. I enjoyed it. I wish they did more levels than just like a few, handful.
Oh, so they didn't do the whole game in VR, just some
Oh
of it?
no, it was just a little bit.
Oh,
But
okay.
Breath of the Wild is the whole game in VR. But all you really do is you put the freaking switch right to your freaking face, and you're. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's that bad, but I can see why people get motion sickness from it.
Yeah. So to finish this up, this description for RE1 says there were horror games before Resident Evil, um, and there have been horror games since, but none of them have fully captured the essence of that classic horror trope of being trapped in one remote location with an army of monsters. I'm just old enough to remember what the reaction was like when this game hit, and it hit like a tidal wave. Probably one of the first non Nintendo Japanese games to really get over in America, which made it one of the most infamously poorly localized games of all time. And if
Hmm.
for no other reason than that, it places in the upper half of this list. So we're going to end the list here. We're going to pick up the rest of it. We're going to pick up the rest of it next week. So you've already seen, those of you watching will already seen a sneak peek of number 24. I won't say what game that is, but I'll give you some more sneak peeks of this list. I'll just give you some random ones, and I won't tell you what numbers they are because that'll be for next time. We're going to see Star Wars Jedi Knight Darkness Force 2. Um, Grim Fandango is on this list. Uh,
Huh?
the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past is on this list.
What about
StarCraft is
that?
on this list.
Don't tell too much more. I mean, that's already 4 out of 25.
Well, yeah, but I'm not saying what number they are, so you still don't know
Yeah,
where they are. But that's
that
just a sneak peek of the list. You know, the rest of this list. A couple other games that we talked about last week are also on this list. So I'm gonna save this off for next time so we can go back to it. But any
yeah.
closing thoughts, Casey, before you go? You say you're getting tired, and quite honestly, I'm busting for a piss. So
uh, hopefully we get some more video game news next week. I mean,
yeah, I didn't put out a video since Monday because there just wasn't anything else, and then I figured we were gonna do this podcast tonight, so I figured I would just wait.
yeah. And the thing is, I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of presentations, but it's not like normal E3
And they were
where,
not good, except for the
yeah.
Crash Bandicoot reveal.
I mean, the best one out of the whole, all of them is the PlayStation. Well,
So far,
so
yeah. I mean, there's still plenty to come later on this year, so
yeah, but I think people are just holding up. But you figure, hey, this game's coming out for the PlayStation 5. This one's coming out for the Xbox Series X.
yeah.
So
Yep.
tell us. I can understand you, or I shouldn't be too shocked though, because this is like one of the final years for the current generation.
Right.
So
Well, Casey, I hope you have a good night, brother. Thanks for coming on again this week, and I'll talk to you on Sunday on
yeah,
Derailed episode 120. Derailed every Sunday night, folks, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So,
oh, it'll be fun.
so thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, Casey, have a good night. And until next time, my name is The Rose, and for Casey is Raw. We'll catch your ass down the road.